Well, hello there, friend, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you to all of those who follow, like, subscribe, and comment. I'm so grateful that you're all here. And if you're not already subscribed, feel free to join the community via that little button below. It means the world to me. Now, I just came back from Europe, and more specifically Sweden. We also spent some time in Rome, just my husband and I. But if you have followed along in the channel, you might know that I live in Melbourne, Australia, which is in the sort of southeast corner of the giant country that Australia is. If you didn't know, Australia is actually about the size of the US. So it's a very, very large country. And a lot of people don't realize that because it's on an island far away from things. But one place it is very far away from is Sweden, which is where I was born and raised, and most of my family still live. We try to go over there every second year to visit, and I have had family and friends come and visit here in Australia over the years, which I really do appreciate. But this time we went home to maximize family time, hang out, celebrate a couple of big birthdays and things like that. And during this time, I actually stayed for about a week in total at my dad's house, which is the house that he grew up in. He's 75 years old, and the house that I grew up in. And I wanted to take you along today because this declutter is a little bit special to me. And I'm going to show you some footage here on the screen of the space we're starting with. But basically, my dad lives in a pretty big two-story house in the countryside on a farm. Downstairs is like his domain. He's got a kitchen, he's got his bedrooms and set up for him. But upstairs, which is what I'm showing you here, is pretty much the rooms that I grew up in. So we've got this landing upstairs, we've got 3 bedrooms and an office and a bathroom, and then quite a few storage cupboards and things like that. And it looks very similar other than the bathroom being renovated a few years ago. So I'm going to show you here what this brown wallpaper room looked like when I was a kid. I know that I have a photo somewhere that I can share here on the screen for you. But what I wanted to gift my dad, because he doesn't spend a lot of time up here anymore, it's just him living in this house, and I really wanted to help him declutter a little bit, make these spaces really nice for house guests, because he does have guests from time to time and he's got ample room to host said guests. So I wanted to make the rooms really nice, streamlined, decluttered. I did not spend $1 on organizing tools. I just used what was there. I repurposed furniture and moved them around to different rooms. I decluttered a lot as well, as you will see, but I did some of that off camera just out of respect to the paperwork and stuff that I was going through at the time. And this project did take a lot of love and a lot of time. And we also tackled a few other areas in my dad's house, but those were the areas that him and I worked on together. And I didn't film those because that was just really special time for us to go through mementos and chat about things and tidy up. So all in all, the week that I was home, I actually spent a lot of time decluttering and cleaning, but it was really enjoyable. The result was really, really lovely. So I hope you enjoy today's video and the transformation that you can do by just cleaning, decluttering, and giving things a home and grouping like things together. So let's dive in. Okay, so at the moment we're at my dad's house, and in one of the guest rooms where Paul and I are currently staying, there's just an awful lot of like spare furniture. Don't mind our carry-on luggage. But yeah, basically up here we've got like random things that should probably live in the office. So I'll show you some pictures here what this looked like before, but this is basically, I just want to keep it really nice and simple and minimal. But my dad has a really old farmhouse. It's got a lot of random pieces of furniture. This is from Swedish Midsummer that we celebrated recently. So my idea is to take this giant bookshelf full of office stuff and take it out here. Come along. So this is the old office that has turned into, I don't know what. There is a big giant desk in the middle of the room. We've got random bits that I've put in here that I'm going to help him declutter. We've got some like outdoor cushions, which make very little sense to have up here because we're on the 2nd floor and these would normally be used outside. So anyway, we're gonna try and work on a little project where I add the other shelf here. This door is for another bedroom, which has another entrance. So this door is basically never used. And that way we can do kind of 2 shelves here. Yeah, anyway, it's a red hot mess, but it's gonna get better eventually. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk you through how I declutter spaces. You've seen me work on a lot of spaces in my own house, but the biggest thing is to decide on the size of your project and stick to it. For this particular project, I was going to move some furniture around and reorganize. I am not touching wardrobes, drawers, closets, anything like that. And I'm going to start by moving the furniture, the biggest piece of furniture, in this case, the book case, and I'm going to move that across to the room where it's going, which is that office we just looked at before. Also, I don't know with you, but when I declutter a lot of stuff, I'm always optimistic about how much floor space I have, and I do run out of space. But this is really, really important as well for you to just don't bite off more than you can chew. Chunk your decluttering into suitable chunks. Don't try to do it all by yourself or all in one day. So now all I'm doing is moving this shelf across to cover that door that we looked at before. It's just a door into the bedroom you can see on the right hand side. So that door between the two rooms hasn't been used for years and years, and it really doesn't need to be accessed that way. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking all of those things that are on the floor in the bedroom and I'm trying to group things together. So I'm not trying to get it perfect at this stage. I'm really just going which things belong together. So in this case, we had a lot of documents, a lot of folders and binders and things like that. So I'm just getting them into the right room. If I had more floor space in this room, I might very well have piled them up on the floor and grouped them first or used the landing outside. But on this particular day, I didn't have heaps of time. So I wanted to get all the items from the one bedroom where I was sleeping into this other room. I'm also dusting a little bit as I go because a lot of these spaces up here in my dad's house, they're just not used very often. So I thought it was a great opportunity to just sort of tidy things off a little bit. And this was a pretty damn good workout, I tell you. My arms were very sore after this day. This shelf itself was not heavy at all, but just carrying books and things like that across. And then I'm trying to group things. Again, you can do this in piles on the floor if you find it easier, but I found pretty quickly that we had books, we had office paperwork, and we had a lot of like photo albums, mementos, birthday cards, postcards that people had sent, etc. Now, these are not my items, so I'm not decluttering anything that I'm not sure about. Anything I was unsure about, I put in a separate pile. But basically, all that I really had permission to get rid of was things like advertising, flyers, things like that, or catalogs, travel catalogs that were very old and things like that. So I got rid of very little actually in this declutter, even if it might not look like it. And because again, these are not my books, it's not my stuff, so it's not really my right unless I seek that permission from, in this case, my dad. But what I really wanted to do is just to start getting things into the same room, and we're getting there. Okay, so you saw me move all this stuff, so I've actually been able to consolidate it a tiny bit. I'm going to tackle this one another day. We've got a big family party tomorrow, but this way at least all the books and folders that I'm aware of are in the one place. And let me go show you what the bedroom is looking like. So in here, we now have this big, beautiful corner over here. So I'm going to move, that's a kitty photo of me over there. So we're going to move this whole thing over towards the corner a little bit and free up a little bit of space here. But I think it's going to look pretty good. So we're back a few days later in the office, which is the main space that we're decluttering. And I have actually, since the previous footage you saw, added more things in here. So whenever I find stuff that is meant to go in this room, I have added it in here on the floor. And that is a good recommendation for you if you're tackling a bit of an overwhelming project. Try to enclose the stuff to one space. If you don't have time to do it all in one sitting, that's totally fine. So anyway, you can see here we have technology, we have all sorts of items here. And by the way, this video is getting a little bit long, so you will see the final declutter and reveal in the next video next week. I'm so excited to show you how this space turned out. It was so, so good in the end. But all I'm doing now is taking this random bird of prey that we have had for a long time. I'll ask Dad where he wants that instead. And I'm taking anything out that doesn't belong in an office. Things like rugs, blankets, sleeping bags. There were a lot of odd bits and bobs that didn't really belong in here. I'm also going to take that rug out and give this room a really good clean. And then I'm taking anything that's sort of going to be donated, and that grey bin there in the middle is just the trash bin that I had handy as I was working through stuff. One thing I would have loved to do in this declutter is to get rid of some old technology and take it either to the dump or to be recycled or donated, but we didn't actually have time, so I decided pretty quickly that that was not in scope for this project. But you will see in the final result that I am keeping all the tech items like old stereos and radios and things in one spot, so it's really easy for my dad to look at what he's got and go through what he wants to keep. This is the status of the landing. It wasn't too bad at this point. I just sort of had little piles that I started, but it got increasingly worse throughout the day. So don't you worry, I also get very messy when I declutter. And now I'm trying to empty this desk with the objective that I want to move this desk orientation around up against the wall to give this, it's a very small room, to give this a bit more floor space. And it is a very heavy desk. It's got a lot of documents and stuff in it that I want to try to avoid having to take out. Those were some Christmas decor, by the way, those candle things that I just moved. And you will see this shortly, but this desk has a shelf on the back of it, and it had a lot of books, booklets, and things like that. So what I'm trying to do here is to just empty off that back shelf of the desk. Well, first of all, taking everything off the top of it, and you see me trying to nudge it there. I actually needed both my brother and my husband to help me move the desk. I found that random doll. I'm not actually sure whose it is, so I'll have to ask Dad. Found a lot of random things. And whenever I do declutter, I tend to pick an end in mind for that day, and I try to be as realistic as possible. And my goal for this day was to move this desk into the correct position so I could get everything around the desk organized. So I'm just giving everything a little bit of a wipe down here and moving. I'm forever finding lamps and decor in this room. I'm sure Dad had no idea he had this many lamps, so we're going to definitely have a look and see if we can rehome them. Some other decor items as well that will go into a different closet. But this desk, like I said, is very big and heavy, and all these items here up on the desk were on these two shelves on the back. And I actually think we don't need those shelves anymore. We can fit all these items onto the bookshelves themselves. So my goal now is to get the giant piles that you saw from the desk up onto the shelf. My graduation photo from high school. I've aged just a little bit, but that's okay. You know, we all grow older and wiser, right? So just dusting and cleaning a little bit here as I go, and like I said, trying to get all those items off the desk and onto the shelf. If you need to move things around as you go, that's totally fine. It's a very natural part of decluttering. And in this first pass, like I said, the only stuff that I got rid of were things like advertising catalogs, advertising materials. I did not get rid of any books, flyers, or anything else because that is not for me to declutter. So it was actually a really good process, and it was really fun to see my dad has been a farmer his whole life, so it was really cool to see a lot of the things that he'd been involved in. We found some old mementos and things like that as well, which was really cool. And I think Dad was really excited to find some items that he'd sort of forgotten about. So don't be afraid to put things somewhere and then change those shelves around a little bit as you go. I certainly did that too. And I'm really, really, really happy to be able to do this for my dad, and it made the whole flow of the upstairs much, much better, which you will see all the final results. That's my old moped manual from a moped I had when I was 15. So this is where I leave you today. The desk got moved with the help of my husband and my brother, and we got it moved across, and I'm really excited to show you how this project ended up. So I will see you next week for part 2, and let me know in the comments what you thought.